One Piece, the greatest story ever told. One Piece is my favorite anime. The fights, the action, the story, the world building, it is so captivating. And the fact that it is running for as long as it is truly impressive. Releasing in 1999 and still running to this day with consistent, gripping storytelling, One Piece has bled through the walls of Japan and become a global phenomenon. So let's check this video out by Yuki, One Piece, the greatest story ever told. Let's get into it.
Initially, when writing the script, I was going to talk about how I felt One Piece had ruined anime for me. But as I've spent time writing this script, I've had the chance to watch a few anime that I hadn't had the chance to watch previously.
I'm just thinking about it now. He says he was going to write about how One Piece ruined anime for him. I can somewhat see that. Well, I can speak personally. Because ever since I started watching One Piece, I look at other anime series as like, just generic in a sense. Because how intricate the storytelling of One Piece is. It is truly in depth. Each and every character has a compelling story, whether it be the main character Monkey D. Luffy, or even a side character who is a marine like Smoker. It is truly amazing to see how the author Ichiro Oda was able to craft such an amazing story.
And I think that my feelings are actually the complete inverse from what I initially thought they were. Like I said, I initially thought that One Piece's quality would wind up spoiling me, and that I would never be able to enjoy anime again because there would never be a show like One Piece. Yep. And I still 100% believe that there won't be a show like One Piece ever again, but it hasn't
I agree with that phrase. I agree with that statement. You know, One Piece took a lot of inspiration from Dragon Ball Z, and they ran with it. They amplified the adventure, they amplified the story, the fighting, the power system. It is truly amazing stuff, man. I cannot fanboy about it enough. I don't think there'll ever be another anime series close to One Piece or like One Piece. It's truly one of a kind. There is a reason why it is being taught in Japanese schools, similar to in a sense how we are taught Shakespeare. Yeah, it is truly a deep story.
Negatively impacted how I view anime. Rather, I think it's actually helped me enjoy anime more. You see, at the time of writing this script, it has been almost exactly 1 month since I caught up to the One Piece anime, and it was not long after that I caught up to the manga. That journey took me a little over a year, and upon finishing it, I can say that without a doubt, this series will go down in history as one of the greatest stories ever written.
Facts.
But before I get into my thoughts on One Piece and how it's impacted my opinion on anime and how I think it'll impact the shonen genre as a whole, let me just provide a quick synopsis for the uninitiated. Well, as quick as I can get with this many episodes and this many books.
Yeah, One Piece has over 1,000 episodes, man. Over 1,000 episodes with such gripping storytelling. Hats off to Ichiro Oda, man. He's a genius.
One Piece is about a boy named Monkey D. Luffy who wants to become the king of the pirates by finding the titular treasure, the One Piece.
There we go.
Except he's made out of rubber. That's all you're getting in terms of a summary because there's way too much to explain otherwise.
Luffy has such an infectious personality. Our rubber boy, man. Can't wait to see the day he becomes king of the pirates. It is probably going to break the internet for sure.
All you have to know is that this guy is going on an adventure and he'll face adversity with his friends, but he'll overcome all of it and he'll do what he says and become the king of the pirates.
Yo, badass.
Now, I do want to make a video where both those who are caught up and those who aren't can enjoy what I have to say, but there's just no way to discuss anything about the story without spoiling something for somebody. There's several sections in this video where I discuss story elements and themes in detail, but I will provide a spoiler warning before each of those sections with the episodes/chapters that I talk about specifically. One Piece's world has been built with so much love and care that I would argue no other fictional world comes even close to matching it. Now, that might sound a little bit insane, but I'll take the risk of sounding even crazier by saying the story it tells within that world is one of the best ever told.
I agree with him. I completely agree. The world building of One Piece is one of its strong points, man. You have so many places that are based off of real life places in our world, like Dressrosa, Water 7. You've got Alabasta, which is like Egypt. It is so amazing, man. The way Ichiro Oda is able to take these real life places and create a spin on them and create and make it his own. The world building is amazing, and to think it's just islands. They all are mainly islands. Well, even though that plays deeper into the lore of One Piece as well. But yeah, so the fact that it's only islands, it is remarkable.
Ichiro Oda's care for the story he's writing and the discipline he has applied can be seen clearly and has paid off tremendously. And I'm not alone in thinking that. The numbers that One Piece produces speak for themselves.
Facts.
One Piece's success is maybe harder to see in the West, considering that out of the record-setting 516 million manga volumes sold, over 420 million were in Japan. This number might be hard to wrap your head around, but that means that every person in Japan would have to own at least 3 volumes. And all of that is only for the manga. One Piece's anime has a similarly stacked achievement list. One Piece's film Red is the 6th highest grossing Japanese film of all time, beating out Howl's Moving Castle by almost $10 million and beating out Ponyo by more than 40. One Piece has also completely dominated Times Square during promotion for film Red. Demon Slayer was the only other anime to do this, and even then it didn't have even close to the amount of coverage that One Piece had.
Well, I can see why. I mentioned in one of my previous videos how Demon Slayer has an easy entry point for new anime fans. I can see how it had such an impact, how it was able to garner so many sales as well. But One Piece, I noticed recently, a lot of people are getting into One Piece. A lot of celebrities are getting into One Piece. It has become such a global phenomenon. I think it's because the release of the live action series, which is also coming out with its new season over in March. I think with the release of the first season, even over in 2023, I think it was, a lot more people are giving One Piece a shot. And not to mention the production quality of the anime going up as well. Man, One Piece is exceeding and it is reaching new heights that you couldn't possibly imagine.
And its movies, the One Piece anime beat out shows like Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, and The Office, and took the spot from
okay.
the most watched television show of 2022.
Sure.
Since recording this last section of the video, One Piece has released its live-action adaptation on Netflix, and it has jumped to the #1 most watched show in 84 different countries.
Jesus.
Meaning this live-action adaptation of a Japanese anime beat out a record that was previous.
They did the live-action really well. I cannot wait to see season 2, man. Wow, they're using CGI effects for Chopper, the Gum Gum effects in general, Wapple's fruit power, just the effects throughout the entire series. Laboom's introduction, Baroque works. Man, it looks so amazing. I cannot wait to watch season 2 when it drops. They did an amazing job in bringing in a lot of new viewers, and a lot of people are interested in One Piece.
Previously held by Wednesday and Stranger Things.
Wait, what?
Out a record that was previously held by Wednesday and Stranger Things.
Damn.
Now,
beating those two.
The history lesson is going to be ending shortly, and we can begin discussing some more of the impact that One Piece has had on me and the industry. But in order to talk about that, I need you to understand the reach that One Piece has and why exactly it has it. For my fellow Westerners / non-Japanese viewers, the popularity of One Piece may be fairly shocking. See my previous section. But I can assure you that this series did not come out of nowhere. Weekly Shonen Jump is a magazine in Japan that serializes manga aimed at teenage boys, usually having an emphasis on action, friendship, and overcoming adversity. All the things that teenage boys like. This magazine has been around since 1968 and is responsible for the serialization and popularity of series like Dragon Ball and Fist of the North Star. Dragon Ball specifically was actually one of Shonen Jump's heaviest hitters since its debut in 1984. Dragon Ball is widely responsible for the popularization of anime and manga in the West, and for quite a while it put Shonen Jump at the top of the totem pole for shonen magazines in Japan. Or at least it was until it ended in the mid-90s. At the start of the 90s, Shonen Jump began to plateau in circulation, and when its biggest moneymaker ended in 1995, it began to drop off significantly. After 2 years of struggling, in July of 1997, an aspiring and promising manga author would release the first chapter in his first series. That author was Ichiro Oda, and that series was One Piece. After this, Shonen Jump began gaining traction again, and then after a few years in 1999, another manga began serialization, Naruto. And finally, in 2001, was the first serialization of Bleach. These mangas saved the magazine, and the anime adaptations that followed took the spark that Dragon Ball lit in the West and
that explains why One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach are known as the main three. Dragon Ball is seen as the peak, you know. I wouldn't say godfather of anime because obviously there's Astro Boy, which was the very first major anime series. But yeah, Dragon Ball is the kingpin, man. And then below that, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach.
Pumped gasoline on it. These series would come to be known as the Big Three, and they've achieved legendary status among the anime community, and all three series are still popular to this day.
And I just want to mention this as well. I don't get why people hate on Bleach. People say Bleach doesn't belong in the big three any longer. Come on, man. If it wasn't for Bleach, anime wouldn't be as mainstream as it is. Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. Obviously, Dragon Ball is up there, but obviously, once Dragon Ball ended, it can't just keep on carrying the float. Those three other anime series, the main three, gotta put respect on their name, especially Bleach. I see people glazing the hell out of One Piece and Naruto and saying Bleach does not belong there, but I mean, the stats prove it.
Now, I don't want to get too far into the weeds of manga sales history, although I think it would be fun to do a video on the Big Three. The reason I bring Shonen Jump up in the first place is because the CEO of the magazine has attributed its success and life after Dragon Ball to One Piece. As non-Japanese viewers, the understanding of how important that actually is may be lost on us. That's like saying that one model or designer is responsible for the survival and life of Vogue magazine.
Did y'all hear what he just said? Put some respect on Dragon Ball's name, man. A lot of people crapping on Dragon Ball, saying it is not worthy of being in the spots it is, and it's not worthy of the glaze. Come on, man. If it wasn't for Dragon Ball, y'all wouldn't be anime fans today.
But I don't even think that gets my point across, because the numbers that Vogue magazine is currently putting up per month, Shonen Jump was putting up in a week.
Jesus
I promise
Christ.
the history lesson is now over, but hopefully that's given you some perspective on the cultural impact that this series has had for over 25 years now.
Shout out to
I
Shanks.
mentioned earlier that I think One Piece is one of the greatest stories ever told, and I would like to now back that up.
Back it up,
There
my
are two
brother. Speak to
primary
me,
reasons I
man.
believe this, and one other reason I'll get into later. The first reason is the writing, and the second is the experience. I've left both of these reasons intentionally vague, but they both play into each other, and the unique elements of both play an important role in making One Piece as special and timeless as it is.
The writing and the experience is the best way to put it, man. The best way. Yeah, this takes me back to my high school days when I was getting into One Piece. Like, a lot of my friends especially, they were like trying to put me off from it, saying, oh, you shouldn't watch One Piece, it's too long, it drags. Those were the arguments they were saying. It only gets good in episode 200. I'd argue it gets good immediately. If you're not hooked onto One Piece in the beginning, yeah, then maybe it's not for you, because the adventure aspect, along with the character progression and them explaining the characters and their motives and why they, what their goals are and why they're going on this adventure. If you're not drawn into that, then yeah, maybe One Piece isn't for you. But yeah, I started watching it. I was hooked by the third, fourth episode, man. I couldn't wait to see what was gonna happen next with Luffy and Zoro and Nami, Usopp. Come on, man. This story is truly gripping, and yeah, the experience is a huge part of it. It's my favorite anime for a reason.
So let's talk about One Piece's writing. There's obviously the story and world that I've referenced, and along with those comes the characters that operate within that story and world. But there's a few other things I'd like to discuss. These being the symbolism, subtext, and foreshadowing, alongside the
Yo, Doflamingo, man! Give it to him. Best One Piece villain, without a doubt. Joker.
Literary competency of the story and how the events of the plot affect the characters. I'm trying to separate all of these things because sure, the symbolism is a part of the writing, but the characters do more than symbolize the themes of the show. Rather, their powers and personalities seem to turn them into personifications of these themes. Luffy, for example, is our protagonist, and he clearly embodies freedom. Without him, and subsequently his worldview and beliefs, the story wouldn't be happening. Nor would its themes be as noteworthy, as they wouldn't have anything to be contrasted with. Luffy's lighthearted, joyful nature and desire for freedom are contrasted by the dark and oppressive world he's been born into.
Yep. That is so true. True what Yuki is saying right there. Luffy's character, man, it is truly inspiring. gives you the motivation as a viewer to just constantly trying to achieve your goals. Luffy's personality is infectious, he's positive, he doesn't care about any limitations. If a limitation is placed upon him, if rules are set in place, he breaks it down immediately. He goes to a country, he sees there are oppressive rules that are keeping people from, whether it is from eating, whether it is slavery, wherever Luffy goes, he leaves an impact, he breaks down the oppressive system and he moves on. He doesn't want to be a hero, he doesn't want to be revered by people, he just wants to inspire others into achieving their goals. Luffy's character, although he, along with Goku, is based on Sun Wukong, that's where Luffy's character deviates from Goku's and Sun Wukong. Truly mesmerizing stuff.
The government wants to control everything and everybody, and pirates are more concerned about their own personal wealth and power. The entire world is against Luffy's ideals, and he's not afraid to fight against it. Even Luffy's devil fruit powers complement his personality by giving him the ability to fight freely, something that only becomes more and more powerful as he learns how to use it. However,
don't want to give any spoilers, but the fact that Luffy's fruit power is not what it seems, what you find later on, even though he just had rubber powers, he broke the mold. He used those rubber powers in a unique way to achieve greatness within the world and make a name for himself. Luffy is impressive.
Despite desiring freedom and adventure, Luffy makes it clear that he's not a hero. Heroes share their meat with others. Luffy wants the meat for himself. But this surface level selfishness is not really indicative of Luffy's beliefs. Luffy's worldviews and ideals are often put on display. Luffy takes every battle seriously, no matter how big or small. Luffy is incredibly trusting, almost to a fault sometimes. He doesn't care about people's past, and
that's the thing. It is to a fault. Is exactly what Yuki was saying, because sometimes Luffy will take your words at face value, whether you're lying or not. He will trust you immediately. He will put his faith in you. That's the kind of person that he is.
He'll often fall asleep when listening to people's backstories, because these things don't matter to Luffy. He wants to see the best in people, and he doesn't care where they come from or what they've done. All he cares about is that they're his friends now.
Look at that. People get annoyed by the fact that Luffy falls asleep reading people's backstories and what made them the person that they are today. But Luffy doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't care about where you come from, what your background is, what your circumstances are. He'll treat you as an equal, and that's that. Nothing more, nothing less.
Luffy is such a great character because he's so joyful and happy, and you can tell that this is how he wants to be. But when the darkness of the world shows its fangs and sinks them into Luffy or his friends, sometimes it's not possible to smile or laugh through it. And when Luffy realizes this and locks in, you see this side of Luffy that is in stark contrast to the normal Luffy. Because when Luffy is not happy, he's really not happy. Honestly, Luffy's serious face, if you will, is probably one of the most intimidating main characters I've ever seen.
Oh, they're not wrong, man. Luffy's always carefree, but when he's pissed off, my wife even said it, you can see the look in his eyes like he's about to whoop some ass, man. Luffy is very intimidating when he's pissed off.
It gives us, as the audience, a cue that Luffy is taking this fight seriously, and we should too. At its core, One Piece is an adventure, but it's an adventure that we as the audience are a part of. This adventure literally takes you around the circumference of this incredibly detailed
the entire crew.
And the characters that you accompany on that adventure grow closer together as you grow closer to them.
I mentioned Luffy's character traits, as Yuki also mentioned as well, but the character traits of each and every one of the Straw Hat crew members, truly well thought out, well written, and it just makes you care about the characters and their growth. Maybe One Piece has ruined me for other anime series. Maybe that's why I can't enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen, man. Maybe that's why.
And on this adventure with these characters, you experience the joy, the laughter, the tears, the tension, the failures, the pain, and the triumphs. The world of One Piece is something that I haven't begun discussing yet, and that's because I wanted you to have a good idea of how well thought out the characters and story are, because the world of One Piece, while certainly it is a tool and device by which the story is told, it's also much more than simply a setting.
It is much more than simply a setting, man. Ichiro Oda has crafted an absolute masterpiece. not just through his characters, his world building. Oh, the fights are just the caveat on all of it. Have you noticed I haven't mentioned the fights that often? Because the fights, although the fights look really good, it is not the main reason why a lot of people watch One Piece. People love One Piece for its characters, their dreams, the story progression, the captivating story as a whole, as well as the world building.
Within the anime community, it is common to refer to sections of shows by the name of an arc as opposed to the season. This is particularly common with longer shows, usually 100 plus episodes, and One Piece's arcs are exclusively defined by their location. There's also a diversity in One Piece's settings that is pretty much impossible to achieve anywhere else.
Yep, and that's why a lot of people say that One Piece has an art style that looks really ugly, by which I completely disagree. Doesn't look ugly, the characters look distinctively different. It has a very unique art style where you look at one character won't look like the other, unless you're like comparing a lot of the females, because a lot of the females do have the same character build, like the same figure and such. But aside from that, a lot of the characters look very different to each other. People say Usopp looks ugly. They say that Chopper looks cute in certain forms and ugly in others. I mean, like, come on, man. I'm gonna leave the video just there, man. I feel like he's about to hit the climax of his video, and yeah, I'm telling you, this is a W video by Yuki over here, man. Y'all should go check it out over on Yuki's channel. One Piece, the greatest story ever told. It is truly, in my opinion, the greatest anime story ever told, man. Even outclassing classics like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and Bleach. I think One Piece is up there, man. Yes, it's objective, but I'm not the only one who shares that objective take. There's a reason why One Piece is growing so rapidly and becoming one of the biggest anime series of all time. And probably is going to be the biggest once the One Piece is finally revealed. So yes, I'm going to be leaving it at that. Do drop a comment down below and tell me who is your favorite One Piece character and what was your favorite arc. Like, share, and subscribe to both me and Yuki as well. Go check his video out, and I'll be sure to be back with another video real soon. Peace.